Welcome to the Kawartha Small Business Podcast, where we believe the Kawarthas can be the most thriving region in Canada for small business. I'm Brian Rump from Profit Coach.
And I'm Matt Garrity from G Digital.
And we are recording from the Thrive Podcast Studio at Thrive Co-working Community, 18 Kent Street West in downtown Lindsay, Ontario. And today we are talking about empathy and entrepreneurship.
Just kidding.
I added this on. This is intended to be I want it to be a short, clear podcast because I think sometimes people will throw around entrepreneurship as a buzzword. A lot of people see entrepreneurs as heroes. It's all about them. But really at the core, entrepreneurship is about empathy. And people who really, really understand entrepreneurship, startups, building companies, the people who are continually successful doing that is kind of rare, but it always comes from a place of empathy. Mm-hmm. And empathy is, not just the buzzword of empathy, but it really comes down to understanding people, solving pains, and really trying to get to the root of the problem. When we talk about innovation, so I think we've talked on this podcast before about some of the fundamentals of innovation and design thinking. Empathy is really that first step. So it's like really trying to understand people, their decisions behind it, and then creating solutions that directly solve those problems. So that's what I wanted to talk about, because I think sometimes people think they're doing that, but they're not really.
Yeah, I think the idea of entrepreneurship is you've come up with an idea that can help people. Although on the tip of my tongue, I want to say you've come up with an idea where you think you can make money off of.
And that's where I think, yes, that happens and is a reality, but this is where the true entrepreneurship is about empathy. Because people will come out of the gate and be like, oh, I can make money doing X. But unless there's a core of empathy there and you're really using that as your filter, you might get lucky, it might work for a bit, but there's just so many failure stories where the empathy just isn't there or isn't right.
So you think that if there's no empathy, there's not going to be a successful business?
No, because why would people give you money if you're not solving a problem? So this, again, layering in all these ideas of sort of core empathy, design thinking, but also some story brand, inviting people into a story where they're the hero, providing a solution that's, priced equal to the problem they have. But I know you very well. You don't walk around handing people money because you're like, oh man, you're awesome. Here's some money, right? You just want money to make you the hero or make your life better. So that's where we have to keep that focus on. And there's, ways to look at that, but it doesn't start with, hey, I want to make lots of money. I'm going to be an entrepreneur. How can I get some suckers to give me some money? And sometimes you can use some tricks that get some money in the short term, but it rarely works long term.
I think about some classic entrepreneurs we know either locally or globally that would lead with, okay, how do we create something that will make me money? Those become fads. Those become trends.
Yeah.
They're popular. They can make money real quick. But then, where's that long-term success going to come from? Yeah. You are right. It has to come from empathy.
Yeah, and there's so many ways of defining what that is. So it's really focusing on who your customer is, what their personality is, what is it they want, what they're looking for. Sometimes that comes from a place of pure happiness. Sometimes it comes from a place of sadness, right? It's oh, people are sad, need to drown their sorrows. Here's this.
Yeah.
It's still entrepreneurship. Maybe it's not the best, but it's coming from serving that base need. And there's lots of ways to be empathy, right? Some people like new shiny things.
Mm.
Some people like something that just makes their life better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because I think like the empathy also probably comes from a perspective of business owners thinking they can do it better than other people. And that is ultimately a way that they can help people more.
Yeah. And that is like people like, hey, I can do that better. Or it could just be, I could do it for this set of people better and I can make money off of that.
Sure.
So you might be the niche for a certain personality type or someone that has a very specific problem. And you're just that different voice that connects with that person. And like, that's, to me, some purity and entrepreneurship right there. It's not necessarily a new idea. It could just be a different way of focusing on how you make a certain type of person feel.
Yeah, because I've been thinking a lot about this recently, even in the last week. Maybe I've been thinking about it longer subconsciously, but the idea of doing marketing strictly to blue collar, roll up your sleeve, get your hand dirty type of businesses, HVAC companies, plumbers, roofers, contractors, excavators. Because to me, like you pay a premium, maybe subjectively, but to me it's easy working with those type of people. And like I know how to do it really well. Like the framework is there. And to me, I'm like, why can't we help all these businesses? And I wouldn't do it territorially, but like, okay, I work with a big HVAC company and a plumber and all these different industries within Kawartha Lakes. But why can't I go down to Kingston and find the best there and help them grow even more?
Yeah, I think that, and that's a great example of the pure empathy of looking at that specific person, what their pain is, how you connect, right? So your ads, I think still are used to say it, like a blue collar, no nonsense. So you can connect with that person on that level. And now you are immersing yourself in their business to help them solve their customer problems. And because we're all human, like we don't all want the same plumber, right? Like someone I think is amazing and I want showing up at my house could give me a completely different experience than someone else who wants something different. So that's really what marketing is kind of some finding these, different little connections. So as an entrepreneur, one of the core earliest definitions, I forget it exactly, of entrepreneurship is someone who basically takes something, adds value to it, and resells it. So that could be a physical thing or, a idea or, just something that isn't as valuable and, makes it more valuable. And that is, the core is, starts in that empathy place and where that pain is. And then you can, design your business, you design your marketing around it versus trying to help everybody.
Yeah. I think the empathy part started with me when I first started in marketing, when I was an account manager and I was being trained and taught and brought into client meetings. And I would listen to the marketers talk to the client, the HVAC company, the plumber. And I'm like, I don't understand what they're talking about. How would this HVAC company understand it? How would the plumber take that? And I still to this day think about it in every conversation I have. I think, and the word am I about to use, is it a word that this person understands? And it's not like because I'm smarter than them.
Yeah.
I just know marketing. And if they used a term in an HVAC industry or plumbing, I would not understand, right? But I've always just been empathetic to the fact that like the way marketers talk to people isn't appropriate. Like it's all...
certain agencies, the way they do that, they're trying to be like cool guys.
It's so unclear and it's confusing to people. And that's when those people will leave a meeting, the client or the account, and then they'll be like, I don't know what they're talking about. And they're trying to deceive me. And it's all smoke and mirrors and I don't understand it. And it's not that hard.
Yeah. And it doesn't need to be smoke and mirrors. So that's where you're out of your frustration, you go and decide, hey, I'm going to do it differently or better for this type of person. And so many businesses start that way. It's like, hey, I noticed this, or I was frustrated with this, and now I'm starting this to solve that problem.
Yeah, I remember the first two getting found on Google projects. So SEO, search engine optimization. I got them within 30 days of each other because I didn't do it. I didn't sell it for like the first year. I was really scared. But the first two that I got, they told me that I explicitly won this because I was the only one that talked to them and explained stuff to them and showed them what I was doing, and not in a way like to confuse them, and not in a way to show, oh, look how good I am. It was just like, this person is going to be paying me a lot of money. I need them to understand what we're doing.
Yeah.
So they know what it is. They don't want to do it. That's clear. They're not going to take it and steal it. I don't care. But I was the only person that was like transparent with them to show them what was actually happening there. And that stuck with me forever.
Yeah, I think that's it's so true. And it's like learning how to be you. And some people don't like that, and that's okay. Some of the richest entrepreneurs I personally know and have talked to, they have a really good understanding of who they work best with and who they don't work best with.
Yeah.
And they're like very vigilant on who they work with. So, if you're like, hey, you have to understand what we're doing, trust me, like that type of stuff, that's important versus the person who's just like hiring out the cheapest person who's going to execute their orders, right? That's a different business than what you're doing.
Yeah. I love working with small business owners and just them. I hate working with other marketing reps.
Yeah.
I hate working through other marketing companies. I'll work with marketing reps if it's like a really, really, really small team. But I know that I talk to a business owner, and there's usually, when I'm working with them, there's like a respect level.
Yeah.
And there's I trust you, you go do what you do. I'm busy doing my own thing. And I love that.
I don't think I've told you this story, but a few months ago, I coached the Customers the Hero live stream, which was a story brand, business made simple framework. And one of their lead products are day-long or 2-day-long live streams, and they have coaches. So I coached 8 random businesses they were all in the United States. And one of them, I thought it was the business owner, and we went through this great exercise, and it was a very kind of unclear business that was really niche, and they had such a clear value proposition that I was like, this is like, you're going to make $1 million after we went through this framework and we had their language. And then what I found out later was the guy didn't own the company. And then the owner just was like, yeah, no, we're not going to do that. And it was just like lighting money on fire because it was so good. And like we came up with, and it wasn't even rocket science, but I was like, if you go and you say this to like every person, you're just like, they had like such a good value offering, and like for what the price was, it was like so good. And they're just like, we're going to do it. So like, I know for me, I want to work with the owner, decision maker.
Yes.
So, you learn these things and you develop what your thing is based on that. Whereas other people I know, they love working corporates, bureaucratic environments. I used to do a lot of work with not-for-profits and municipalities in my past life. I remember thinking I might want to do that in my own business, but no, I definitely do not. Like, it's just not a thing that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Right. So, understanding who your customer is, what are things they actually have as a problem, communicating that to them, like that's the key to entrepreneurship.
Yeah, for sure.
Quickly before we go, some tools of like how to understand that is just things like asking people questions, ask them how they feel about certain things, and actually listen to them. Actually observe what people do, right? People will self-report and say they do certain things, but not actually do them. So if you can get sort of data or observations to be able to see that, like just keep asking questions, keep observing, don't try to jump to solutions right away.
Sure.
There's times where you might notice how someone's feeling about something or something they're doing, and it might take years before you get the idea of how to actually solve that. But at the very end of the day, entrepreneurship is all about empathy, serving needs that people might not know they have. They might not know they have the problem, but you are solving those problems.
Absolutely. Like listening is a big part of it. I had a business reach out recently via email. I wanted nothing to do with it. It made no sense to me. I was like, whatever, though. They were kind of referred to me. I've got to take a call with them. You get on a call and you talk to these people. You can't help but be sympathetic to the situation. And like, okay, no, what you were saying in the email was one thing, but you actually need a lot of help over here. Yeah. And like, I told them, like, I don't even want to talk to you about tactical marketing yet. Like, you're in so much trouble with this other aspect. Let's do this.
Yeah.
Like, not to say don't think about it, but like, let's do this. And then we'll talk about everything else after. And then it became much more interesting to me also in general. But like, you look at the email, I'm like, yeah, I don't want to do this. This doesn't fit me. Then you talk to them, you're like, well, like they're in big trouble. They really need help. Yeah. And I can help them. Without just taking their money. And anyone else would have just gone with the first thing that was emailed out to them. But anyways.
Yeah, and that's, listening, figuring that stuff out. Sometimes, again, people don't know. Just two famous examples. One, Henry Ford. He used to say if he asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. But instead, they got cars. It's Steve Jobs. Nobody was asking for 1,000 songs in their pocket when he came up with the iPod, but that's what they got. So, just there's ways to observe those things, come up with ideas. But when you look at those entrepreneurs, it is about empathy. There's tools for that. So if you're unsure about your entrepreneurship, but you think you have some pretty cool observations, like just keep on it and know that you have the ability to solve some problems. All right. If you would like to be on the show or have questions, you can set that up by sending us an email to setitup@kawarthasmallbusinesspodcast.ca.